Thanks for clicking. The London St. Thomas Association of Realtors, LSTAR, has released London's real estate data for the month of May, with the data revealing some real signs of market stress. Yeah, as we'll see today, sales were at their lowest level that London has seen for the past 12 Mays, save COVID, whereas there's an awful lot of new listings coming to the market, the highest London has seen for the past 12 Mays. Meaning Londoners are choosing to sell at the very worst possible time that they could sell. And, well, as we'll see today, the data shows that London's market is continuing to slide downward with no end in sight. If you are one of the very few who are in the market, you have an awful lot of buying power. As such, let's get this out of the way early. Financing conditions, appraisal conditions, home inspections, at this point under ask offers. If your realtor refuses to protect your financial interest, get a realtor that will.
You got a f***ing problem, bro?
So what I want to do today is go over London's real estate data for the month of May, take a look at some stresses showing up in the London market, and then go over how to protect yourself in these volatile times. As we'll see today, at least in the immediate term, the future of London's market does not look all that great, but we will obviously continue to track how this all plays out on this channel. Make sure you click, like, and subscribe to get those updates, but for now, let's get into London's data. Onto the data. First up, the benchmark price. The benchmark price is the price of a home that represents the most popular set of features, which was up marginally in May. London's benchmark in April was 589,000, and that jumped almost 5k to 593,900 in May. So the benchmark price is up close to 5,000, but still down about 14,000 since this point in time last year. With that said, the average price did drop, coming in at 652,700 in April, but down to 648,270 in May. So the average price down about 4k since last month, and actually down about 4k since last year as well. With all of that said, the median price was up a bit more substantially. The median price, if you remember, that's where half as many homes sell under that price and half as many sell over. The median price in April was 590,000, and that was up to 605,000 in May. So the median price up about 15,000 in 1 month's time, but still down about 14,000 since this point in time in 2024. Next, the sales to list price ratio, which measures by how much over or under asking a home sells. So if a home is listed for 100,000 and sells for 98, the SLPR would be 98. That was down as well in May. The SLPR in April was 98.2, and that came in at 98.1 in May. So, on average, homes are selling for about 2% under asking.
It is because I am the best at what I do.
And finally, the months of inventory measurement, the MOI, which measures if no more homes came to the market, how long would it take for London to completely run out of homes for sale. London's MOI in April was 4.3 and is now sitting at 4.5. 4.5 months worth of inventory, by far the highest amount of months of inventory London has seen for May for the past 12 years. So we have the benchmark price up almost 5k, the average price down about 4k, the median up 15k, homes selling for more under asking, and relative more inventory sitting on the market. Which brings us to the sales numbers, coming in at 474, the lowest sales numbers London's had for the past 12 years, save COVID. Given these ultra low sales numbers, that makes the new listings numbers even more curious. New listings came in at 1,396, the highest amount of new listings coming to London's market again for the past 12 Mays. And new listings really shouldn't be coming in that high, as it's not a great time to be selling your home. In fact, it's just about the worst time to be selling your home, with active listings now sitting at 2,110, the highest amount of inventory available, again for the past 12 Mays. I'm not sure if it's the renewal wave, if it's the cost of living, if it's the economic uncertainty, higher interest rates, whatever it is, Londoners are listing their homes en masse at a time when they really shouldn't be. I can understand why new listings hit close to this level back in May of 2022. Interest rates were heading up and home values were about to plunge. Back then, the benchmark price was $700,000 and rates were about to skyrocket, which was going to inevitably put downward pressure on that price.
None of those things will happen.
Fast forward, and there's a ton of inventory sitting on the market, there's a ton of economic uncertainty, and interest rates are still high. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to sell unless you absolutely have to. So definitely some signs of stress showing up in May's data, but regardless of how we got here, what's causing that stress, the fact remains that that Londoners have an awful lot of buying power heading into that spring and summer market. But it also means that they need to protect themselves as well. First and foremost, get a good realtor, one that understands how interest rates work. I've been seeing this more and more as of late. Get a realtor that understands that the Bank of Canada does not set fixed mortgage rates. Those are set by Canada's bond market. And here's a quick example to prove it. RBC's 5-year fixed right now is 4.49. Back in November, it was 4.74, 25 basis points higher, when the Bank of Canada has, since November, dropped rates by 100 basis points. So it's right there, black and white. Just because the Bank of Canada moves, just because they raise or cut rates, doesn't mean anything is happening to fixed rates. And any professional that tells you otherwise has actually just told you something about themselves.
I don't know.
Well, to be fair, the bond market isn't really taught in realtor school. It's not really taught in mortgage broker school either. So there is no mandated reason why your professional should know about the bond market. But if your agent is talking central bank announcements and fixed mortgage rates, then they haven't done the bare minimum of expected professional development, which tells me they're out for a check and not a career. I'd suggest getting a better realtor. There are some out there that understand the global bond market and its relationship with asset prices here in London.
The son of a did it.
Second, and to reiterate the point that we spoke about earlier, you have to make sure that you have a finance condition on all of your offers. Especially in this market, as we've seen over the past few months, there is a strong chance that between the time you have an accepted offer and the time that you close, your home will not be worth what you paid for it.
Bro!
No, it's true, and that's not at all a slam at your sales bro. Things are changing very, very rapidly. Things are very, very volatile right now. We don't know when the levy is going to break, but with this amount of active listings sitting on the market, chances are prices are not going to hold for much longer. Values can shift very quickly. It happens. The key is to protect yourself when in fact that does happen. With that said, I can say from experience, if that guy is showing you houses, calling you bro, or its derivative, brah, chances are you overpaid. But I digress. Let's say the bank pre-approves you for a purchase price of $500,000 with 20% down. The bank's going to finance 80% of your purchase price. You buy a home for $500,000. However, the home appraises for $450,000. The bank is only going to fund 80% of that $450,000. Meaning they're only going to advance you a loan of $360,000. So whereas you had thought when you purchased you were only putting $100,000 down, you now have to come up with $140,000.
I got a guy.
If you have a firm accepted offer in place and you can't come up with the difference, you can and will get sued. If that seller has to relist and say can only sell their home for $400,000, as remember we are in a declining market, you will have to pay the difference. The difference between the sale price that they actually were able to sell for, $400,000, and the one that you agreed to pay, $500,000, meaning you're on the hook for $100,000. As such, as always, get those finance conditions in place. It allows the lender to confirm the value. The lender will look for any red flags on the property. They are 100% in place there to protect your financial future. So, in summary, stress is continuing to pile up in the London real estate market. Way more new listings than we should be seeing for the month of May, especially given the dwindling, almost non-existent, sales numbers. If you are one of the very few that is out in the market, make sure you have a good professional working at your side. One that understands interest rates, one that understands the central bank, and one that will agree to protect your financial interests.
You gotta ask me nicely.
With that said, we will obviously continue to track London's market on this channel. Make sure you click, like, and subscribe if you want to get those updates. But for now, thanks so much for watching.